and blessing. First of all, it's me, Melissa Renee with BellaMinded.com. And this is long overdue. I actually did a video on this already, but my mic wasn't working. It went out on me. So I have a whole bunch of footage with no sound. So here we are doing it again, and hopefully I can do it right this time, okay? So let's get into talking about Nene and Sierra's podcast that they're doing. So of course you all know, if you're just tuning in and you don't really know what I do and what I speak about, hold on. If you don't know what I do and what this channel is all about, Bella Minded channel is all about centering Black women. As much as I talk about the centering of Black women and how it relates to us, how we interact with one another, build bonds, connections, friendships, whatever, it also intersects into us healing and doing the required work as needed individually as well. Because you can't have one without the other, correct? With that being said, I'm also here to celebrate. I'm also here to acknowledge. I'm also here to bring attention to and recognize. So that's why I wanted to speak on Nene and Sierra's new podcast, which is called Me and My Homegirl. Now, right now it's in episode 2, and I think it's the part 2 for episode 1. However, like I said, I did a whole video. I didn't have any sound, so this is me redoing it again. So this is basically going to cover episode 1 because I didn't get a chance to see episode 2. I believe that the podcast, for one, generally is good. I think it's an easy listen. It's not hard to get into and to listen to it. Doesn't have a lot of negative dead air. Sierra and Nene feed off of each other very well. I think it's the opposites attract thing. Opposing. It is so funny because I say opposing. They have so many polarities in regards to Nene and Sierra. And as much as people talk about opposites and, if you're into astrology, opposing aspects being conflict, once you can accept the differences between the polarities or accept the differences between those in that conflict or opposing aspects, you will see how within the things that are different is so much that's alike and so much that's the same. You also kind of realize that opposing or polarities are a good thing, and it's like it enhances where one person or one aspect of you, person or you, is weak, the other part of you or the other person is stronger, and y'all can feed off of each other, interchangeably strengthening each other's weaknesses and enhancing each other's strength. So I say all of that to say a great combination, in my opinion, when I see Nene and Sierra. The polarities from the age, Nene is older. So with them having all the opposites, it attracts basically. So you have Nene, the older, experienced woman, and then you have Sierra, the younger, and I won't say she's not had her own experience, but I believe that when you listen to them talk, especially when Sierra talks about her mother and her family and having to separate herself and love them from a distance, you will hear Nene kind of reassure Sierra by telling her, hey, like, that's been there, done that. Like, yes, it comes to a point where you have to allow people to be who they are and you have to let go and move on. So it's not the fact that Sierra doesn't have experience. It's just that what she's experiencing, she can learn a lot from Nene, who has experienced that. So it's kind of like it's giving the big sis, little sis vibe. And I can appreciate that dynamics. We don't see those dynamics a lot of the time with the age differences of women hanging around each other a lot of the times. Me personally, if I vibe with you, I vibe with you. So it doesn't matter if you're older than me, if you're younger than me, if you a vibe, you a whole vibe. And if I enjoy being around you, then I enjoy being around you. So that aspect, I think, is very, it could make for a great podcast for them, as long as they know how to deal with the conflicts that may allow them to bump heads. Because when you listen to them, when they talk about how they actually like were attracted to one another, opposites attract, it was, Sierra said, I didn't really know you from the show because she didn't say don't like, excuse me. She said, I didn't watch Real Housewives. So she said, I didn't meet you or gravitate you through that. It was more so seeing you on social media, your memes, your gifs, I said what I said, the infamous Nene line. That's what gravitated to her. She said, I saw you, you looked like this diva, your style, the way you carried yourself, just like you had it all together. And I admired that, and I was attracted to that. And you hear how Nene said she saw Sierra, and watching the show, she gravitated to Sierra and her personality because she's all for the glam, all for the getting cute and dolled up, and they have the similarities of loving the same things. So where they have opposites, they still have things in common that they share on the show, which I believe all of these elements make a great podcast, because you have things that they're going to share that they view or see or dealt with differently, just because they are different ages, they've been through things at different times. But also there are things that they're going to have in common, and they're going to be able to really, like, you're going to see that connection and that bond through the things that they have in common, their commonalities. So all of those things to me make a good show. I like the fact that they were authentic and true to themselves, not being anything different. I actually like the fact that they're starting off centering their podcast around them actually interacting and talking. Nothing against anybody else, but I do see that I'm starting to see a lot of celebrities, whether it's in the music, whether it's in the movies, whatever. I'm starting to see a lot of them start podcasts, and it's generally centered around interviewing other celebrities. I mean, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. But I have to be honest and say that it seems as if it's the same interviews with the same people just being recycled over and over again. And at a certain point, it becomes a little like, it becomes a little bland, because it's like, how many times we're going to see, this person on different people's podcasts talking about the same thing, So I like that it's a different aspect of podcasts with them discussing them. And I like the fact that they did it in a way where they were asking each other questions. So Nene started off asking Sierra questions about things she's seeing in social media, kind of clearing it up, and also giving us a background of things we might not know based off of just watching the show. And then I believe Sierra gets into asking Nene questions, which was interesting because it allowed Nene to bring up how the whole Real Housewives of Atlanta started. And contrary to popular belief, because I believed it too, I remember hearing the narrative that she actually had the show and brought it to the producers or executive producers, when in reality, she actually was presented with the opportunity and ended up putting on Kim Zolciak, Sheree Whitfield, and Sean Snow. I could not remember her name for the life of me. So yeah, she initially put it on Deshaun Snow, Sheree Whitfield, and Kim Zolciak. So that was a very interesting, that was an interesting take because I didn't know that. And based off of Sierra, she didn't know that either. So I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that. So that was interesting to know. I do believe that if you're into the conversations, I do think they give really glam hood homegirl and glam sophisticated regal older friend. And I think that also is the opposite things that plays with each other. I think Nene is a little more reserved, and Sierra is a little more like, you know, she said it herself, like ghetto, like her Ghetto Eats brand that she has, a cookbook where she does cooking. So she has that, and I think those two things also complement each other. I think Sierra's homegirl vibe, you know, just down to earth, like, you know, this what it is. I don't even want to say this what it is. I can't say how I mean it, but what's a good way to say it? Like, I don't want to say like she has this, Sierra has this vibe about her that I feel like she's, for the most part, I feel like what you see is what you get with Sierra. I don't think she fakes it. I think that's just what it is. So if you can't stand her or if you like her, that's who she is. I don't think Sierra gives anything but who she is. And yes, I feel like sometimes Sierra can be very emotional, but I guess that's an authenticity about her because I feel like she wears her emotions on her sleeve, but it's her real authentic emotions. You know, that's how it is. And I think that she can learn from Nene, like, you know, some things you entertain, some things you don't. Some things you're going to have to allow to let go and not be so emotional about it. And I believe Sierra is going to show Nene that it's okay to be a little vulnerable. It's okay to let down your guard. It's okay to just be who you are sometimes. So I definitely feel like they could play off of one another. They got to talking about the plastic surgery and all the surgeries they've had due to people asking. Now, I'm not gonna lie, for me, I think like I said, I think it's an easy listen. I think you can listen to it and enjoy it and be entertained. It's not hard to listen to at all. I just think for me, it might not be, you know, you have some things where you're like, oh, I gotta go listen to the next episode. I think if it's just certain things that I'm not really into like that, but I can see a lot of the girls who are into it enjoying it. Like the whole glam thing, like they like in the name brand, the high ends, the, you know, dress the head to toe, the slaying, the makeup, the weave, all of that. That's not really my thing, but I don't knock anybody for whoever thing it is. So if that's your thing, I think you will enjoy it. I think you will anticipate the episodes coming because it does give that, you know, sit around, talk, chill. Like, I believe you could sit down with yourself or even with your friends, have a glass of wine, and either listen to the podcast or watch the podcast, and you would enjoy yourself if you're into a lot of those things. Now, it's not to say that if you're not into that type of aesthetic that you still can't get something from the podcast and you still wouldn't enjoy listening to it. You just might not gravitate as quickly, but I can still see you enjoying it and listening to it, and if you might even just find yourself anticipating for it and listening to it. But that's for you all to decide. That's for you all to watch for yourself and make the decision for yourself. I think the podcast can do amazing. I want to congratulate Nene and Sierra. I think they have something that could be great. I can even see this propelling them career-wise in so many other directions. I heard this guy say, King of Reads on YouTube, he was saying how, Nene shouldn't want to go back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta because it's so many things she could accomplish and do on her own. And he referred to her having her own talk show. And I could very well see that. I really can. And I think this is her starting point to show potential producers, investors, creators, whoever, whatever they're called, to see how good she could be at this, to go with the talk show. I even feel like just because of her aesthetic and her style, I definitely feel like I could see her moving into the late night talk show kind of arena. I know it's heavy with men, but I believe that there is maybe a market there that has not really been really pushed into, to having a Black woman do a late night talk show. Monique did it at one point. Monique did it. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if it got canceled or they just stopped doing it. I don't know if it had a lot to do with the situation she had going on with Oprah and Tyler and all them good people. I don't know, but she did it, and I can recall watching sometimes. I definitely feel like Nene could be in that space. I feel like she has wit. I feel like she's flirty, but she's flirty in a reserved way, in a sense. It's not giving too much, just enough. I think she could definitely pull it off. And I feel like with Sierra, this is definitely could bring her into spaces that maybe people wouldn't otherwise see her or watch her. Like, they joked about how, Love and Hip Hop is, Sierra kind of, and I'm just paraphrasing, like, she told Nene, like, I guess you think Love and Hip Hop ghetto, that's why you don't want to come to the show. And in them talking, the underline I get is that, maybe Real Housewives, they look at that demographic of being a little more bourgeois, a little bit more, and Love and Hip Hop maybe a little hood, I guess. So taking in that, and I can see that in a sense. I won't take that away. I can see that. There are some people who watch both. Some people are just into reality TV show, Black reality TV shows, period. Now, some people kind of favor the Real Housewives of Atlanta, the Basketball Wives, the Braxtons, those type of shows. And then some people just prefer the Love and Hip Hop, the Zeus Network. That might be on a whole nother different tier than Love and Hip Hop. I don't know. I'm just saying. So it just depends. But I do feel like it would bring her into that atmosphere with the audience who only views those type of reality shows, as far as Basketball Wives, Real Housewives franchise, and things of that such. So that could very well expand her brand and expand the eyes who see her. So it can help across the board for both of the ladies. I wish them the best. I hope that they make this work. If I had to say a con, I would say the only con I could see is just based off, I don't know them, just based off of seeing them on these shows and just on social media. I just think as long as they don't allow like outside people, once people start watching the audience, if they don't allow the audience to divide them, choose one over the other, say, I like her better than her. And as long as their audience doesn't divide them and they stay, 10 toes down with each other, even if they have any kind of conflict, that they actually talk to one another, that they could do great things and they could definitely uh, get their audience to like really connect with one another as well. So that's just my thought. If that's not the case, then it could be a good thing and be gone like that. Who knows? Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they can be they can continue this thing and it will be good for them both. So once again, I'll say congratulations to the ladies. Y'all keep doing y'all thing. I'm gonna check out episode 2. I don't know. Depending on how y'all feel about this, I might come back and review episode 2. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But other than that, y'all go check it out for yourself. Y'all tell me your thoughts. Have you watched it yet? What were your thoughts when you watched it? Do you think this is a podcast that you would continue watching? Would you request this or refer this to anybody to watch? If not, tell us why. And I will see y'all on the flip side. Peace and blessings.